Mortal Kombat Armageddon is really far from obscure, as it's one of the most notorious games in the franchise, as there was every character in the game's history in it. It also holds the distinction of having the fourth largest roster in fighting game history, only being beaten out by Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, King of Fighters 2002, and Topal 2. With that being said, it does have one obscurity for people who aren't entirely in the know. That being a port of the game on the Wii, which was released 7 months after the PlayStation 2 and Xbox versions in May 2007. Armageddon was one of my favorite games growing up, and it wasn't until about a year ago that I learned of this game's existence. So today I want to give a deep dive into Mortal Kombat's forgotten port and see why it isn't as memorable and why this would be the last Mortal Kombat title seen on a Nintendo console until Mortal Kombat 11 in 2019. Released on May 29, 2007, this version of Mortal Kombat Armageddon is mostly the same as its Xbox and PS2 counterparts, as it has all the features as the original version. It has the standard arcade tower, Mortal Kombat, Conquest, Crypt, and the notorious Creative Fighter. But it also adds a couple of new things to the mix, one of which is a new mode. While Endurance Mode is new to Armageddon, it actually isn't a brand new mode, as Mortal Kombat Deception's PSP port also had this mode. Different from Mortal Kombat 1 and 3's version of endurance fights, instead of facing off against just 2 fighters back to back, you actually fight a gauntlet featuring 14 fights all back to back, culminating in a 15th fight against Blaze. This mode is very well balanced, as you gain a percentage of your life back to keep you going as you compete against a wide variety of characters. Speaking of characters, there's another addition to the game that is probably the only thing making this port of Armageddon memorable, and that is the female chameleon, who was the only character in Mortal Kombat history that was missing from the original releases. Chameleon uses the Eagle Claw fighting style that Katana had in Deadly Alliance and the Falchion weapon stance. It is incredibly similar to Asha's Chris, and it might even be the exact same. Don't take this as a downside though, as this was actually par for the course for Armageddon, since many characters not seen in previous 3D titles were given stances used by other fighters. There's many examples of this, such as Kai getting Moifa from Scorpion, Striker getting Hua Chuan from Ermac, and Sector getting Kempo from Sonya. It's the same with weapon stances, as Ermac and Jarek share a weapon stance, Meat and Suhao, and Serena and Li Mei doing the exact same. Chameleon also shares special moves with Melina, Katana, Jade, and Tanya. This is normal for the Chameleon characters, as both male and female versions of this character did this in both Mortal Kombat Trilogy when they first appeared. However, the choices for the special moves are a bit odd, as you'll only get some good use out of Melina's Sky Kick and Tanya's Fireball, as Katana's Square Wave will never hit an opponent when you need to, and Jade's Teleport leaves you really prone to being hit, not only before, but after. Now, am I here to critique the game's balancing or discuss the differences between the port and the original version? I mean, I guess both, but there is one more thing I want to comment on before we wrap things up, and it's another feature exclusive to the Wii version, and is probably either the most forgettable or the most memorable, depending on how casual or competitive you are when it comes to 3D Mortal Kombat. Yeah, a laydown feature is what I call the most memorable difference in this game. In a casual sense, you'll never find this very useful and probably never use it. However, in a competitive sense, this is actually a really important feature for the modern scene of Armageddon, as it's played online using Dolphin, rather than PCSX2 or another different emulation device. Laying down allows you to low profile most attacks, and you can use the wake up attacks you'd have when you are knocked down normally, and allows for some pretty decent mix up. It's an interesting addition, in all honesty, as it's honestly kind of surprising that it's not in the original versions on the PS2 and Xbox, but you can also understand why it isn't either. Now, I get why they wanted to add it. It's pretty useful against zoning, but in all honesty, zoning in the 3D games is quite terrible unless you're drumming. And on top of that, it leaves you very prone to ground pounds, and trust me, there's a lot of ground pounds. Baraicho, Ermac, Dairu, Jax, those are just some of the characters with ground pounds, so it's something you have to be cautious about when fighting against those characters. That really just about does it though for the major differences between the Wii version of Mortal Kombat Armageddon and the PS2 and original Xbox versions. There is obvious things such as audio and graphical qualities that are different, but that doesn't really take away from the enjoyment you can get from an absolutely wonderful port of a phenomenal Mortal Kombat title. As for the question I posed in the beginning, the reason why Nintendo would likely pass on the next 3 installments is because of their desire to have their consoles be more suited towards kids rather than adults. It isn't the most solid logic, as Bayonetta, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and Resident Evil Revelations would all be successful titles for the Wii U, but when you compare them to Mortal Kombat, it's no shocker that Nintendo would stay away for so long. Now that's all I have to say about the Wii port of Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Let me know what other titles you want me to look at in the future. I already have a few more planned, but I'd love to get your feedback as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. I hope you all have a wonderful day.